Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion, place of binding advice again for the plus. Sorry, the last episode did not have game audio. I just, it's annoying. Yo, we gotta focus for a second. Let me talk about the game audio thing first, because this is looking like a hot run. Basically, the only reason, or the only time when I can realize a game doesn't have game audio going on in the video is when the recording ends, and then OBS kind of hangs for a second, and I go, oh no. So at least I acknowledged it when it happened first this time. So this one should have game audio. And then, here's the thing. If I test it beforehand, it has game audio. 95% of the time, it has game audio when it finishes. 5% of the time, it just goes, nah. You gotta restart, close OBS, start it back up again. There's really no way to test for it. All you can do is acknowledge it as it's happening. Even in my OBS right now, it's like there's game audio levels coming in. Maybe it'll bork again, and this will be an ironic video, but regardless. There's our seed. This run is very, very dangerous. And I wouldn't have it any other way when we're attempting to get 30 wins in a row. A month of victories. Not the best... Yo, amazing. Not the best streak I'll have ever had if we get there, but like, I don't know, maybe fourth or something along those lines. So all I'm looking for, like now we're set up pretty nicely. A single spirit heart, and we're off to the friggin' races. And in fact, especially with the golden key at this point, we don't need much. We just need the shop to play along. Please. I would never ask for the... Thank you. What I was about to say is I would never ask for easy runs for no reason. There's a very good reason for this one. I want the win. Okay, so with one spirit heart, we're set up pretty nicely. This would be nice for me, you know? Keep in mind, we're still pretty early on in the infancy of... doing one run a day. We went through a period where we were winning pretty nicely, and then we went through a period where we were playing kind of like garbage. I'd say for the past, 2 months, we've been pretty solid. It's been, 2 months with a single loss. It's just unfortunate that for now, that loss is, right in the middle of two, modest streaks. When it would have been very nice if instead, the loss was at the start, then we'd be at, a 50 streak right now. Whatever, though. We gotta live with the cards we've dealt ourselves, and really a lot of the losses have come from me, so I can't really deny that. I honestly kind of think Zodiac sucks as far as items go. Not the movie. I did see the movie. It's very good. You know the movie is good because it's one of the only things that... Well, actually, now that I think about it, Zodiac probably came out in 2007. But if Robert Downey Jr. chooses to be in your movie, despite having unlimited Marvel money, you know your movie's gotta be good. Wait a minute. We should go to the... Well, we don't have to go to the shop. Hold off a second. As long as we don't run into the world's worst boss, we should be totally fine. It's one of those things, right? Well, I mean, it depends on your actor's personality, I guess. Because... I like Samuel L. Jackson as an actor, but Samuel L. Jackson being in your movie does not mean your movie is going to be good. I hate to say it. He's been in a lot of amazing movies. He's been in a lot of garbage movies. We have to take... There's so much good stuff here, actually, that I'm mad. Let's not be stupid. And take 9 lives. And just forget about Judas's Shadow. Honestly, and it's not, there was a better way to do this, I'm sure. Take Judas's Shadow, but here's the deal, actually. I'm not sure there was. It's unfair for me to say that there definitely was. I mean, we could just take it and be half a Spirit Heart, which is also fine. But we're never going to get the Dark Judas if we do that. I think we might as well just bounce, actually. No, we might as well not bounce, because we have many bomb-related opportunities, plus Zodiac on the item room, which is actually our biggest bomb-related opportunity. And you don't have a bomb. Why would you do this to me? Now that you've given me bombs, thank you. But what I was thinking is you would take Judas' Shadow. If you had bombs, you could then walk out of the Devil Room, blow yourself up, respawn as Dark Judas, and then pick up 9 lives. But if we only have like a little... I mean, we didn't have any bombs as of that moment, so I think we did the right thing by just guaranteeing ourselves a little bit of survival and future guppy chances. Michael Caine's another good example, right? There's that very famous Michael Caine quote when he was in, like, Jaws 4, The Search for More Jaws, where people are like, hey, Michael, the movie sucks. Have you seen it? And he's like, I haven't seen it, but I have seen the house it bought, and it's lovely. Great quote. To be honest, I don't want to blame the consumers. Everybody already knows I'm a pro-corporate shill, apparently, but, I don't blame the consumers. However, if you're going to see the 4th Jaws movie, what do you expect? If you go see Jaws 2, I totally get it. If you go see Jaws 4, I'm pretty sure you're just like, I like big sharks. That's fine. Jaws 1 is a classic. But anyway, if Robert Downey Jr. is in your movie within the past decade, that's a project that's interesting. I don't know if you could offer that guy enough money to be in a bad movie or a movie that at least doesn't interest him. Minus the Sherlock Holmes films, but anyway. Don't you do it. I also just think that, if you could choose to be any actor in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Robert Downey Jr. is like the greatest intersection between like easy job, not to say acting is easy, let's say physically least demanding plus greatest amount of financial recompense, right? Like, I mean, all the other actors, I'm sure, like Chris Evans, the directors and producers are like, hey, Chris, here's your diet plan. I'm sorry to tell you, you can only have 1.6 grams of carbohydrates a day for the next decade. Robert Downey Jr., they're like, hey, okay, here's your diet plan, dude, but like, between you and me, most of it is just you being on a green screen. It's a close-up of your face, and you're going, hey, Friday, can you give me the atmospheric barometric pressure reading? That's pretty much what it comes down to. In my opinion, at least. Being completely ignorant and having no knowledge of how the movie business works at all. But I take pride in that ignorance, I suppose. Anyway. Hopefully this episode is game audio. It's just one of the quirks of the job for whatever reason. At least now I know the tell. Previously I was just like, OBS is taking forever to quit. Now I'm like, oh no. I know what that means. We're going right somewhere here? Thank you. I hate amnesia, dude. I don't really have any other, there's not much going on right now in my life, and that's the way I like it. I've very much mentioned in the last episode, I'm a creature of habit. I like that, a creature of routine is a better way to describe it, maybe. I like the fact that my weeks are, pretty consistent. We are doing a little bit of travel in May, which will, I look at travel now as anecdote refueling. First off, it's also nice to get away from the internet for a time, but mentally, now that I actually take a day off, and plus, diet and exercise, to be honest, helped out a great deal, but my mental health, never better, brother. I really don't want Brother Bobby. I mean, my brain is still bad, but my mood is better, is maybe the best way to describe it. But now I look at it as anecdote refueling. I'm always on the lookout. Sometimes you gotta get out of the country in order to experience that anecdote refueling. I'm also I'm like, what's the next holiday weekend? I feel like we just got out of the holiday corridor. We're in that weird period, and I'm not complaining, because I'll tell you, my mom, my parents, they live in, I don't know if you'd call it, I don't, what do you call Ontario? Is it central Canada? I lived there my whole life. And the thing is, you never need to worry about how Ontario fits in with the rest of Canada when you live in Ontario, because you're conditioned to believe it's the only province that actually matters. So, you know, now that I live outside of Ontario, we're like, it's obviously not the prairies. Is it central Canada? Is it eastern Canada? I've heard people from Vancouver call it, like, you know, both. People are like, is Ontario a prairie? No, but it is next to the prairies. Is Ontario a maritime? Well, no. But it is next to, the province is next to the maritime. Anyway, you know, it's the end of April. My mom sent me a multimedia message, and it was snowing. And she was like, this is ridiculous. So I sent her a multimedia message, and I was like, it's beautiful here. But what didn't get captured in the multimedia message that I sent was that it was windy as heck yesterday, and that's where we're at right now. We're talking about the weather. You might be saying, that's pretty boring to be talking about the weather. Well, it was so windy that it knocked over a crane in Seattle and killed 4 people. Is that interesting enough for you? What, you demanded blood, you got it, and now you're going to be a little bit gun shy? That's what you get, okay? You'll be thankful for the anecdotes as they come in, lest you find yourself with these violent delights have violent ends sort of situation. Anyway, for like the last 3 weeks, Kate and I have been in a state of denial. Like, we're always like, it's sunny. We go outside, and then the wind is like... I'm like willing myself to believe that the weather is nice, but it's so close, but it's not quite there yet. The weather is faking it till it's making it. I mean, I don't know if you guys have the same thing where you live, probably, because, you know, most places on Earth have seasons. But, you know, there would always be like, and I was this kid a couple of times, but there would always be like a kid who... This is like the first sunny day in April, and he wears shorts to school. And you're like, dude, what are you doing? And he's like, the weather's nice. I'm wearing shorts. I've waited too long. And then he goes outside and he's freezing. And you're like, dude, do you want to, like, you know, go get a blanket or something? No, dude, it's warm. Honestly, you're shivering. I'm not shivering. I'm just so excited by the warmth. I know some of you out watching this are this guy, by the way. I just have to ask, I see you walking around in gym shorts in January. I'm like, if you came from the gym, sure. I mean, I guess, but like, you could just change it. You could put like some tearaways on top of them or something like that, but why? I mean, when I was like 10, I was like, if I wear shorts at school when it's kind of cold out, people will think I'm like a tough guy. Now when I see people wearing shorts, I'm like, that guy doesn't own pants. In the summer it's different, but in like the winter time, in the early spring, I'm like, somebody get this man some pants. Maybe that's presumptuous of me, though. Maybe I'm the problem. Hold on, I had an anecdote coming from there somewhere. Hey! So I was like, you know, oh, I remember what I was going to talk about now. It was the Four Seasons thing. I'm not talking about the hotel, by the way. One of the things, I don't know, if probably a very small subset of my audience has experienced like being in Korea or living in Korea. But, you know, for those of you who don't, Korea, whenever they talk about the climate of the country, I'm just going to hide right here. They're very proud of one very strange thing. And that's that Korea has 4 seasons. They're always going on about how, you know, the winter has snow and is cold. The summer is sunny. The spring is rainy. And the fall is just kind of cool, you know? And I don't know. I don't want to say like it's propaganda. And by the way, don't take this as a negative. Like, I had a nice experience living in Korea. Working in Korea, but living in Korea was pretty cool. But they're like in love with the idea that their country has 4 seasons. And I'm like, dude, the rest of the world, not all of it, but a large chunk of it also has 4 seasons. Like, you know, where I grew up in Canada, you get like There's like a 60 degrees Celsius swing. It's minus 30 sometimes. It's plus 30 sometimes. There's snow. There's, you know, people dying of heat stroke. There's rain. There's mud. Ba-bam. I'm not trying to say you shouldn't be, you know, proud of the fact that your country has seasons, but it's just, you know, when I went there, I was like, oh, the weather, you know, it's nice today. This happened multiple times. And people would be like, yeah, you know, Korea has 4 seasons. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. You know where else has 4 seasons? I don't know, probably like 80% of planet Earth. What you should be bragging... Hold on. I don't really want to one-up, but... we're pretty unlikely to get another chance of getting anything out of it. You should be bragging about the fact that your country has maybe the best fried chicken on planet Earth. That's, you know, whenever somebody's like, you know, this chicken's good, you should be like, yeah, you know, Korea, we have the best fried chicken on planet Earth. That's something you could be proud of. That's human ingenuity. You got a lot of competition there. The 4 seasons thing, personally, I don't quite get it. But you can be proud of it. I mean, there's a lot of things Korea can be proud of, you know? Admiral Lee Sun-shin's turtle ship. Look it up, sweetheart. There's more. I mean that genuinely. It sounds like it's a backhanded compliment, but dude, like, Korea's crushing it. That's what there was a really, one of the things that made me want to get outside of my hometown / country and travel a little bit when I moved to Korea was that, like, you know, I had like a weird view, not a weird view, but like a very narrow view of planet Earth. And I think the reason that I had this was partly due to like where I grew up, which is not a small town, but is like, you know, people are like, you know, you've been to New York City? Wowie. They got that Guy Fieri's American Kitchen there, right? It's not quite that yokel, but it's like sort of there. And then, like when I was like, hey, I'm gonna like go teach English in South Korea for a bit. Literally half a dozen people were like, North Korea or South Korea? Well, that'll be South Korea because we're not allowed to go to North Korea and we could be taken as political prisoners. But I see that despite watching the news every night, you're not that abreast of world issues. And then, one of my dad's coworkers, he like leaned in close to me and he was like, while you're there, watch out for landmines. And I laughed, and then it was clear that he was very serious. Dude, I mean, it's not that there are not maybe like a handful of landmines. I mean, in the DMZ, I'm sure that would be a very relevant concern. But, you know, I don't know, there might be landmines in South Korea proper, but like the Korean War also, I mean, there's more people there than in Canada, and also the Korean War ended like 60 years ago. But anyway, you know, I was like, I grew up in an area that thought of South Korea probably as like, you know, rice paddies and, you know, just exclusively like agriculture. And then you get there and you're like, it's like an electronics hotbed, you know, Samsung, one of the largest electronics manufacturers on the planet. And then, like, you know, we have, I mean, when I was in Canada, at least, like, before I went to Korea, I had this perception, like, yeah, there's Korean automobiles, but they're like a niche product, you know, Kia, Hyundai, Daewoo, you know, they're not that, Infiniti, I guess, they're not that popular. You know, you go, I mean, they're popular in North America to some extent, but then you go to South Korea and you're like, oh, every car is a Kia, Hyundai, or Daewoo. Like, they're killing it over there. Anyway, where was I going with this? I'm just saying you got a lot to brag about that is not related to your climate. You gotta let Canada have what we have, which is not our climate necessarily, but more so like, oh, you know, Mike Myers is Canadian, eh? Alanis, Bryan Adams, don't forget about it. That being said, we fight for our cultural identity in Canada as well, because, you know, it's like playing Civ, and we're next to, like, the world's largest military power / cultural outputter in the entire game. So, you know, we gotta enact these policies that are like, hey, make sure people know that thing that looks American is actually Canadian. We need credit for that. Like, before the movies, there's always... Canadians will resonate with this bit. Everyone else will be like, what are you talking about? But there's an ad before, like, every movie I've seen in the past 3 months that's like... It highlights stuff that was made in Canada. It's like, hey, don't forget, remember the guy who starred in Drive, Ryan Gosling? He's Canadian. He grew up near this girl from Mean Girls. That's right, Rachel McAdams. Canadian. By the way, you enjoy playing any of those Assassin's Creed games? Made in Montreal? Oh, you like Deadpool, huh? Well, Ryan Reynolds grew up in Kitsilano, neighborhood in Vancouver. They've been reworking the ad. Now they include Finn Wolfhard, who is he plays Mike in Stranger Things. Not Will Byers. Mike, you know, the tall one, I think. Anyway. He's doing all sorts of... Look, don't be mad at me for not knowing more about Finn Wolfhard's career, even though he's a Vancouver local. You know, I know he's got like a band as well. They're doing cool stuff, I guess, but call me when Stranger Things 3 comes out. I will say, Finn Wolfhard is a great name for a teen actor, who hopefully can make it as an adult actor as well, but... Like, that's a name where you're like, dude... He was built to be famous as a 16-year-old. This run's getting a little touchy. You're not gonna believe me, but we're getting a little scared about the overall outcome here. We haven't gotten a great item in a little while. Mind you, we are one guppy item away from guaranteed success. We do have 7 damage, but we got 13 rate of fire. That's not very good, to be honest. You see that 7, it could blind you. The truth be told, 7 damage times 13 rate of fire is a little bit on the low side. It really, I guess, is divided by 13 rate of fire, but... mathematically speaking. We got the deal. That's huge. It's not a guppy item. I'll level with you, though. I mean, I think we have to be very aggressive here. I think we should actually take both. Even though it'll kill us once. We might as well see what's... Oh, my God. So I do expect to die several times, but by having Gimpy, we should be able to kind of make our spirit hearts that we get from getting hit work for us on one specific life. So we shouldn't just pick up a spirit heart as soon as we die. That's a very, very bad habit in a situation like this. Because, truth be told, this run is actually fine. It just needs... it needs a little bit of stewardship. Guppy's head. Nah, that's okay. You know, it needs to be actively kind of maintained right now. You know, this isn't something you just put in the... You plant in soil and it grows itself like a potato. You know, this is something that requires some serious, serious work. At least like active moderation, if that makes sense. It's like a hedge. We gotta keep it trimmed so it grows right. Dude, by the way, I'm telling you 100%. At least this is my knowledge. When I was 20, what I thought I would be like when I was 30 and what I'm actually like now. I mean, I'm not gonna say they're like grossly different. But my priorities as a 20-year-old were much different than my priorities as a 30-year-old. At 20, I was way more concerned with almost the way that like Rob talks about the way he lives his life, where it's like, will this lead to a good story? Then yeah, let's do it. That's not the way, you know, at 30, I'm like, hey, could you turn that down? That's pretty much like my whole thing. It's, no matter how loud it is or if there's even anything on to begin with. Hey, could you turn that down? Thank you. I take a lot of pleasure in my own ability to quietly enjoy, you know, myself, my family, my existence, you know? But having learned what I've learned about myself, when I retire, strong chance I'm gonna get into gardening. I'm telling you, it's a weird thing to say, because as of right now, at age 30, I have no interest in gardening whatsoever. But I'm like, dude, when I'm like 65, if I'm lucky enough to be able to retire, gardening seems like the sort of thing that could blossom into my bag, you know? Hear me out. Why is it cool? Well, you know, if you're growing flowers, maybe that doesn't necessarily interest me that much right now, but growing like herbs and vegetables and stuff like that, that appeals to me. Why? Well, it's a simple task you do on a daily or near daily basis. It's repeatable. It's manual labor, which if you watch Minecraft, you know, if you need a man to plant some seeds or water some plants, I'm your dude. If you need a dude to invent cold fusion, please call Malf, please call Austin, etc., etc. It's the same with programming, you know? Coming up with a creative way to solve a problem is a very integral part of programming. Really, like a lot of programming is very creative, and it's really just, most of it is problem solving. Kind of all of it is problem solving, but when it comes, sometimes, you know, the professor will ask a question like, hey, can any of you like rack your brain and think of how to solve this? And I'm like, dude, absolutely not. Once I've learned it, if you're like, hey, can anybody repeat the solution that we did earlier? I'm like, oh, absolutely. I've written it 20 times since then. That's the kind of guy I am, for the most part. I'm not an idea man, and I disrespect the idea men, even though we have to work together. I don't disrespect the idea. That was just an ignorant thing to say. Sorry, I cleared my throat, but in clearing my throat, I cleared some throat garbage up to the top, so I gotta do it again. My apologies. There we go. But then, you know, so it's like, gardening is like that, plus you can eat your work afterwards. And there's just something, and I haven't done this that many times in my life, but there's just something about, you know, a meal that you've actually, like, worked for. I don't mean, like, you put in 8 hours at the office, but I mean, like, a meal that you actually, like, you grew the food, or you caught the fish, or something like that. It's, like, the best tasting meal you could ever imagine. I mean, it's not, like, haute cuisine, necessarily, but, like, some of the meals I remember most from, like, my childhood, at least, was, like, you know, in 2nd grade, we had a vegetable garden. Not we as, like, my family. I mean, me, like, we as a class had the vegetable garden. We grew a bunch of vegetables. Yo, I didn't even see that tinted rock. Thank you. We grew a bunch of vegetables and then made vegetable soup. I didn't even like soup until I was, like, 17 because I was dumb. But I still ate it, and I was like, this is the most delicious meal I've ever had in my entire life. And my teacher was like, why are you talking like Marlon Brando from The Godfather 1? And I said, why are you talking like Marlon Brando from The Godfather 1? And then she said, look at what they did to my boy. Where am I going with this? Oh, it was delicious. And then another one was like, you know, me and my, all the male members of my family went on a fishing trip when I was probably like 11. We brought some potatoes with us and like a camp stove, and then we caught a couple of fish and we pulled up on like some like tiny little island, used the camp stove to cook the fish, and it was like a very meager portion size. It was one of the most delicious meals I ever had in my entire life. Thank God we caught some fish, otherwise that would not have been a keto-friendly meal for sure. But then again, I was 11, so maybe it wasn't that big of a deal. But, like, I could totally see that. And to be honest with you, if I can get a little bit on my own butt, that's kind of why, like, as more of an adult, I'm way more into, like, or way more good about, like, working out on this phase of obsession versus previous ones in my life. And I was, like, in my late teens, I was like, I have to get jacked with the minimum amount of effort as fast as possible. Now I'm like, dude, I got nothing but time. So you know, as long as you eat right and you go to the gym and you work hard while you're in the gym, you're going to be fine. You know, you're going to get there. So if it takes If it takes 5 years, I mean, that's the thing, is not, I don't have a goal in mind necessarily, except, you know, sticking to the habit, which means that any amount of progress is positive. So that's kind of like gardening, is kind of like, you know, it's like working out some vegetables, right? You just go down there, hey, you water them, you do whatever kind of soil, chemical maintenance is necessary. You trim them or something, you set up a trellis, and then, you know, as long as you do that, you got delicious tomatoes. There's a little bit of a dice roll on, you know, are you going to get good tomatoes, bad tomatoes, etc., but, you know, you get better at it as you go, and it's a hobby that allows quiet enjoyment. So is exercise, dude. There's quiet enjoyment in exercise. You just wouldn't know it because of the number of people down in the gym who wear shirts with the Punisher logo on it and then curl 15 pounds, and every time they go, yeah! They're talking on the phone the whole time. I guess it's a place to be seen as well. I don't know. Look, I'm not gonna begrudge you. I got my headphones in. Just wish you'd stop dropping the weights. And also, why don't you put them away? I just don't understand what like, people just don't put their weights away. What is the idea? Well, like, if somebody else uses it, they're gonna have to put it away. Why would I waste my effort? I don't know, man. I was listening to The Moral Epistles by Seneca the Younger. A work that most people are familiar with, I'm sure. And I'm a true scholar, so I'm listening to it on audiobook. But anytime I'm like, well, let me rephrase. I very rarely see bad behavior in public and go, the younger generation, right? Yeah, I know a lot of people are like that. I'm a traitor to my own generation. When I'm in let me give you a real anecdote. People for Endgame, we were tweeting stuff like, don't bring your kids to see Endgame. It's a long movie and they're gonna get restless. I have never in my life had a problem with like an 8-year-old kid at a Marvel movie. First off, I'm not gonna say they're for kids, but they're kind of like, you know, it's not high art. I love it, but it's not high art. So why are we being like snobby about it? Secondarily, the number one group that I have a problem with at Marvel movies is consistently people my age that look almost exactly like me, and then someone on stage, or not on stage, come on, this is a movie. Someone in the movie goes like, what's your name? And then they shout out like, it's Carol Danvers. Her name is Carol. Yeah, we know you, dude. You read the comics or whatever. Just keep your mouth shut. Nobody cares. All right? We're here to see the movie, not dude with an Infinity Gauntlet shirt shouts out the answers to all the rhetorical questions that happen. It's always my own generation. And, you know, when we saw Endgame, I want to be clear. We're seeing an opening night. So what do I expect? But a dude came in. He was my age or older. And he was wearing like a Walmart Infinity Gauntlet. I don't say that to be snobby. I'm just saying this wasn't like a handcrafted sort of like, you know, labor of love deal. This was like a $30 toy you get at Walmart. And then for like the first 20 minutes of the movie, he would shout out like, go Thanos! And then he would make his glove make noise that goes like, and I was like, dude, you know, when you did it 100 times during the trailers, that was okay. Because, like, we're not here to see the trailer for Aladdin, you know? We're here to see Avengers. But now that the movie started, shut up, the grown-ups are talking. You're not funny. Not as funny as I am, at least. It consistently, like, I just, it's people my age that annoy me. Because whenever, like, and we've talked about this on the show, but if you're, like, you know, 19, 20, or even younger than that, I give you a lot of slack. Like, if you behave like a kind of a jerk in public, and you're 19 years old, you're an adult, don't get me wrong. If you murder somebody, you know, welcome to jail. However, but if you're just, like, kind of being, like, a little bit of an idiot, and glorifying yourself because you're trying to make an identity in the world, I'm like, you know what? I've been there. I understand. If you're my age or older, and you're kind of like making everything about you in public, I'm like, something's gone wrong. But I've been rethinking it a little bit, because in the Moral Epistles, which is essentially like a series of letters that Seneca the Younger wrote to his friend Lucilius, he basically, as I listen to this, I get owned on the regular. Because he's like, hey, falling into the trap of thinking that your generation is worse than the generation that came before you is like, it's a selfish and intellectually dishonest play. And I was like, dude, come on, Seneca. How are you gonna just own me like that? It's like he's reading my mind. Next he's gonna be like, do not inundate your populace with stories about going to the Agora. Everybody's been to the Agora. And I'm like, dude, you know what? Maybe he's right. Maybe Seneca the Younger is right. I don't know, maybe he's not. He did live like 1,700 years ago or more, but... Whoa! He's coming in hot. So the only thing I'm concerned about right now is my HP. We should still have 9 lives. I don't think anything can compromise that, but Curse of the Unknown does make this a little scarier. And by the way, like, don't, if you're the dude who was holding the Infinity Gauntlet and making noise during the movie, like, I didn't mind when people were like cheering, but like when he was like, check out how funny I am, I made my toy make a noise, I'm like, alright buddy, take it to Twitch like the rest of us. But if you're that guy, feel free to keep doing that in public. But here's the thing, I'm never gonna tell anybody, unless they're really truly behaving badly, I'm never gonna turn around and be like, hey buddy, shut up. But you're not free to not be judged for it. You're free to do it. I can't stop you. But simultaneously, I reserve all right to basically be like, man, what an idiot in an Isaac episode. That's the contract that I made with the universe long ago, and I keep adhering to the terms today. You know, it's the same like, you know, the dude who was at the Canucks game who kept like, you know, well, I mean, he was basically just extremely intoxicated and like yelling just dumb stuff, like when the stadium announcers are like, go Canucks go, he's like, it's 2019, can't we do better than that? Ding! Plus I haven't seen any of the Canucks use the bathroom so far. Like, I'm not gonna tell you like, you know, shut up and enjoy the game. I mean, you used your dad's hard-earned money to come here, so like, who am I to tell you not to do that? But simultaneously, like, I reserve the right to absolutely eviscerate you while you're not privy to the information. That's just the way she goes. I'm sorry to tell you. And then you could, you know, I'm sure people say the same thing. Hey, there was this bald idiot. And I wouldn't have it any other way. So I'll tell you, I've gone in a little deep here. I just want to finish this run without being hit on the blue baby fight. We should be beyond fine, and I know we can be hit once without dying because we picked up a demon heart, I think. I think we haven't been hit since we picked it up, I mean. But I don't want to get in that cycle of like, we have to beat this guy without being hit, so I would just rather, while it's up in the air, beat him without being hit so that I don't feel like I actually mathematically have to do it in the future. We had to pick our moment there, but it did work out. Good work. And we're done? Thank you. Okay, a little touchy at times, and I'm not just talking about my opinions on people's behavior in public. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. See ya!